Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. Now, we have a very unusual episode this week, and we're doing away with some of the usual things we do. We're doing away with the funny commercial at the end, doing away with the sponsor at the beginning. This is a very different episode. And so we'll just get right to it. Whether you know me or not doesn't really matter to the point of this conversation we're about to have. But just so you know, I am Andy Andrews. And sometimes I'm silly, sometimes I'm serious. But of course, that's probably a lot like you. Because my ADD won't allow me to leave a topic alone, I'll often see a subject fly by, grab it, and bombard it with thoughts from every direction. That's just how I'm built. I suppose, as my mother found out early on, I can be long on questions, short on answers. But there might be a benefit in that. I've come to believe that a lot of questions can help a person sift through all the questions to find just the right question. The right question is critical because it leads to the right answer. In fact, here's how I've come to think about this. The quality of one's question determines the quality of the answer. So before we turn this conversation on its head, let me tell you the story of just one of my ADD questions that bugged me for years. And I promise when we get to the end of this, you will not have seen the overall topic coming. Okay, here's the first story. On March 7th, 1985, I was in front of a television set in a hotel room watching something that had never been done before. The biggest singers on the planet had joined together and created a video to support famine relief in Africa. The song they sang was written by Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson and directed by Quincy Jones. "We Are the World" blew me away. The song was great. The camaraderie of the participants was inspiring. The whole thing just gave me goosebumps. I mean, Kenny Rogers, Bruce Springsteen, Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, Ray Charles, Huey Lewis, Paul Simon, Billy Joel, and so many more. The song was 7 minutes long and just mesmerizing. But in the middle of that jaw-dropping event, my attention came to a screeching halt at around the 4-minute mark. It was like one of those puzzles. What doesn't belong in this picture? But there he was, right in the middle of music royalty, singing and clapping with everybody. I looked closer. It couldn't be. But only seconds later, the camera panned and caught him again. He was right behind Smokey Robinson and the Hall & Oates guy, to the right of Harry Belafonte. Though I was by myself in a hotel room, at that moment I asked a very specific question. What the heck is Dan Aykroyd doing there? Yeah, Dan Aykroyd was famous at the time, but he wasn't as famous as the people he was around. He was a Saturday Night Live guy. He was in the Ghostbusters movie, but he wasn't a singer. What the heck was Dan Aykroyd doing there? My ADD bombardment went something like this. Why him? Who does he know? What does he know? What do the singers think he knows that allows them to be comfortable with such an apparent outsider in their group? Why just him and no other outsider? Who does he hang with when the cameras stop rolling? So what's it been? Almost 40 years later? And I still don't know the answer to any of those questions. It's just one of those things like my grandmother used to say, well, I guess we'll find out when we get to heaven. So years from now, when you see me walk in the streets of gold, you can say, hey, Andy, did you ask the big guy what Dan Aykroyd was doing on the We Are the World video? Because I probably will have asked him. Anyway, I've heard it said that life imitates art. In the past few years, I've had the odd thought that I am the Dan Aykroyd in somebody else's video. Here's that story. Gospel music is big in America's heartland and has been for years. In gospel music, nobody is more influential than Bill and Gloria Gaither, who are, by the way, ASCAP's Songwriters of the Century. Their Gaither Homecoming videos have sold countless tens of millions of copies. They're responsible for 137 multi-gold and platinum albums, and they have so many Grammy and Dove Awards that I seriously doubt they have any clue of the number. I'm sure you've seen or at least channel surfed by a Gaither Homecoming event on television. They're still making them, and they're still being aired. On YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, and SiriusXM, there are literally billions of views. What you've seen on television is exactly like it happens live. No tricks. Just 20 or 30 artists and groups gathered on stage as the master coordinator, Bill Gaither, directs Kevin Williams and his band of Grammy-winning instrumentalists to back the greatest voices anybody has ever heard anywhere. Now, here's something interesting. If you ever attend one of these concerts, you'll know you're seeing a show that has never been done before and will never be performed again in exactly the same way. Every event has a different mix of artists, and with that many performers, each one might only sing one song. And get this, not only do the artists not know the order in which they might be called, they don't know what song Bill might ask them to sing. From a concert goer's viewpoint, what they are seeing is pure, once-in-a-lifetime, uncluttered magic. There are no special effects, no auto-tune, and no do-overs. It's a high-wire act with no net, and the artists love it. They are energized in a way that famous performers are just not able to be at that stage in their careers. When Russ Taff, a guy with 6 Grammy Awards, gets called to sing one of his hits, and he doesn't even know which one to be ready for, and he might literally be the first person that night to stand up and sing, well, that creates an anxious energy in singers that most haven't felt since their early days, and their performance leaves the jaded artist behind and captures that cutting edge of nervousness and attention to detail that explodes off the stage like a rocket. And does the audience love it? Good grief. Sandy Patty might follow Russ or be somewhere in the mix. She won Female Vocalist of the Year 11 times. But on this stage, that gets you one song. And of course, she nails it. With the vocal band, Chris Blue from The Voice, Jason Crabb, the Isaacs, Martins, Easters, there's so much talent on the stage, it's sometimes hard to comprehend. After one 2.5-hour concert event in a packed arena, I found Gordon Mote backstage, grinning from ear to ear. Gordon is the blind keyboard player who's been on over 100 #1 hits and played on albums for Elvis, Mick Jagger, Barbra Streisand, and Willie Nelson. I had noticed that evening he had not even been called to sing one of his songs. But he said, every time I do this with Bill and Gloria, it's the most fun I have in my life. Playing while these cats sing is just the best. Bill and Gloria sit on the first of 5 or 6 rows of performers. Bill turns and points or motions when he wants specific artists to sing background for whoever's being featured at the time. There are 15 or 20 microphones being passed around the group, and as Bill directs, you might watch Linda Randall, she of 100 million views on YouTube, deliver a song while award-winning artists sit in chairs behind her singing backup. There's no empty moment in one of these shows. If it's going to take 30 seconds for somebody to set a guitar or move a mic stand, Bill will have something going on, either having his choir of stars to harmonize on some chorus he remembers or sniping back and forth with his very funny musical director, Kevin Williams. Sometime during the evening, the audience is blessed by the beautiful words of Gloria Gaither. She is the lyricist of the duo and has written most of the words to their biggest compositions. When she talks, her words are poetic and her voice angelic. You just want to sit and drink it in. And about 15 or so years ago, I started doing just that. Bill brought me in to speak at an event they were doing in Indianapolis. After I spoke, I sat in that audience of 40,000 people and watched the whole thing. I was just blown away. Soon I was asked to another event, and I did the same thing. I sat in the audience to watch and listen. I began to get to know some of the artists and started listening to their music when I got home. The next time I was with them, I didn't leave backstage when I finished. I just stood, watching from behind the curtain on the side. Bill saw me standing there and motioned me to an empty chair on the back row. Okay. I sat down between Sonia Isaacs and Wes Hampton, and my life has not been the same since. I have never heard that quality of music or kind of music in that close a proximity before. Both Wes and Sonia had microphones, and as the other singers were out front, the center of attention, these two musical superstars were sitting quietly on the back row singing backup. It gave me chills. It still gives me chills. And once I had done that, I knew I could never go back to the audience. From that point on, every time I was with them, I would sit in the middle of their group as they worked. Sometimes I'd see on some billboard or advertisement that they were performing within driving distance, and I would go, uninvited, just to sit there on the stage among them. Bill, Gloria, and all the artists have become like family to me. I've done a bunch of cruises with them, and on a cruise, I'll sit on that stage 2 shows a night for a whole week. 14 2-hour shows in a row. None of them the same. And I swear, when we're finished, I could start over and do it over again the following week. All the time I'm doing this, of course, I'm aware that somebody in the audience is probably Dan Aykroyding over me. Folks who have read my books or seen me speak will often say, "What are you doing here?" And the same question has to be asked when people just don't know who I am. Who's that guy? Either way, I think it's funny. You know, when you're around people as much as I have been around the Gaither family of artists, you have many opportunities to see how they respond to things off stage as well as on. And that's probably a more interesting factor with these kind of artists than with any other genre. What I mean is, if you watch a country singer on stage, you don't often think about whether or not he really likes country music off stage. If you see a rock band in concert and you hear them singing about their lifestyle, you don't wonder if they live that lifestyle in everyday life. You already know they do. But these singers, songwriters and musicians and performers, these people sing songs about Jesus and God and heaven and love. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I watch performers of this type, I wonder, who wrote those lyrics, I'll think. Did they? Is that person just singing it, or do they really believe it? How much do they believe it? Do they only believe it when they're on stage or when people are buying their music? Or do they care so deeply? Do they believe the words so deeply coming out of their mouths that they prove it by how they live? Well, 15 years of close contact with these people has been more than enough time to convince me that their faith is real, that they do believe the message in their music, and that they live their message in their everyday lives. And then a couple of weeks ago, I got an unexpected, much closer look. On July 26th, my wife, Polly, and I were meeting Bill, Gloria, and 28 other artists and groups of artists in Seattle. The next day, Saturday morning, we were to board a ship and entertain 2,000 passengers for a week as we all cruised Alaska. Friday afternoon was busy as the artists arrived, many with their children and families. We roamed the lobby and hallways of the Seattle Marriott, hugging and catching up with each other. Around 6 p.m., a group text went out to all of us that Bill wanted to meet with everyone in the room off the lobby at 7 o'clock. No matter what you have going on, the text added, please be there. What was this, we wondered. Most of us had been on Gaither cruises in the past. Had Bill ever called a meeting the night before? We couldn't remember one. As 7 approached and we gathered, the jokes were flying. Most of us figured there was going to be a new rule, maybe because somebody had gotten in trouble. Some of us had targeted Mark Lowry as the probable troublemaker. At 7 o'clock on the dot, Bill and Gloria walked into the room. I was near the door and I hugged Gloria as Bill motioned for everyone to gather around. The message was short. "You all know the Nelons," he said. We did. Kelly, Jason, Amber, and Autumn, a family and members of the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, were a constant presence on this tour. They were close friends to all of us and best friends to some of us. Well, Bill continued, Autumn and her husband flew in commercially this afternoon, and they are here. But Jason and Kelly, Amber and her husband Nathan, their assistant, and 2 other friends went down in a private plane over Wyoming. There were no survivors. Immediately, there were gasps, moans, and tears. But amazingly, to me anyway, no one collapsed or became uncontrollable. I had my hand on Gloria's shoulder and looked just to the other side of her. There sat Autumn Nelon, holding Gloria's hand, her husband stroking her back. Bill spoke again. He said, "This is sweet Autumn here, and you all know her. She's 5 months pregnant. She and her husband will try to get some rest tonight and fly home tomorrow to prepare for the funerals." Gloria prayed, and Bill led the group in several songs there in that room. He said, "Tomorrow we get on the ship, and it's our job to carry on. We believe what we believe. Now we journey to show what we believe. This is hard. We are sad and brokenhearted. We don't understand. But we were never promised understanding. We were only promised peace and a future with the King of Kings. We sing when we're happy, and we sing when we are sad. So this week, we are going to sing." And they did. Through Ketchikan, Juneau, Sitka, and Glacier Bay, there were tears and quiet conversations, but there was also laughter and smiles. I saw once again that these artists believe and live every word they sing. They know the Nelons are gone from this earth, but they're not gone from us. They're as alive as you and me and waiting to see us all again on the other side. The following Saturday, we flew home from Seattle, only to meet again in Carrollton, Georgia, for a celebration of lives like I don't ever expect to see again. You'll probably know what I'm talking about when I say there are funerals and there are funerals. There's an emotional level reached at the celebration of a life we see as one well-lived, a grandparent or someone in their 80s. All those type funerals, there's sadness, yes, but there is an acquiescence of our spirit that says this had to happen, it was time, or this is the natural course of life. But at the funeral of a younger person, especially one whose life has been taken by an accident or tragedy, there can be an upheaval of emotion that threatens to consume the event. In many cases of these untimely occurrences, it's not unusual for anguish and anger to claim center stage at the funeral. But that was not the case at the Nelon's funeral. As odd as it may sound to you, I saw more smiles than tears at that celebration. I've often heard Gloria Gaither speak of the fine line that exists between this life and the next, and that she believes that just like we sing on this side of the curtain, so we will sing on the other side. There's an incredible song that describes the process of death or passing to the other side very well. It's done by Wes Hampton, and it's called "Getting Ready to Breathe." I'll provide a link for you here to listen to it. You'll want to. The song includes the line, "When I take my last breath here, I'll take my next breath there. So don't cry for me. I'm getting ready to breathe." As human beings alive on this earth, we are afforded free will to believe what we choose. We can choose to believe a lie. We can choose to believe the truth. Or we can choose to believe nothing. I think it might be interesting to point out here that whatever one chooses to believe, that belief is so powerful that it controls your actions, your thoughts, and your feelings. That's just the way belief works. Many times we can even discern whether or not we are moving in the right direction by how what we are choosing to believe affects our physical selves. A belief in nothing creates a feeling of uncertainty. It's an untethered life that exists with no foundation. A belief in nothing is not necessarily terrifying, but it is constantly uncomfortable or unsettling. Having fears, then doubting the reality of those fears, followed by the process of fearing the doubts you can't seem to control, is a prescription for a life of depression and anxiety. On the other hand, a belief in a lie only gives the illusion of firm ground. When wandering a desert, the mirage of water and shady palm trees can appear to be the answer to everything, or at least a safe place to rest while contemplating the next step. But if one chooses to believe a situation or place is real when it is not, it is recognized by the emptiness in the gut, that feeling we have when we jump for a safe place only to realize our hands are grasping nothing but air. This is why having chosen to believe what is not true has the power to bring people to such anger and despair. This explains why a funeral or in the wake of a loved one's death in the past, you might have seen some people going right past grief and consumed by rage. Think about it. If their loved one was taken from them for no reason or purpose, if there is no plan or future for that loved one, if they believe there's no hope to ever see him or her again, what would there be to celebrate about that life, except that they had once lived? Even so, one might think they're now dead and gone forever. Can you see how someone might at that point long for nothingness? They have believed a lie. Therefore, in their mind, nothingness is the only future to look forward to. Okay, back to choosing what we believe. Remember, we can choose nothing. We can choose a lie, or we can choose the truth. We have examined how believing nothing makes us feel. We have explored what happens to us when we believe what is not true. Now let's check out how our bodies and spirits react in the presence of the truth. For a moment, think back to your childhood for a simple reality check. You're walking toward your mother. She's asked you a very important question. As you approach her, you're aware that you're about to give an answer of some kind, but you are uncertain about that answer. You don't know what the answer is. Do you feel that? Okay, here we go again. You're walking toward your mother. She has asked you a very important question. As you approach her, you are aware that you are about to give her an answer that is not true. Feel that? Okay, here's the last one. You're walking toward your mother. She has asked you a very important question. You know the answer. And as you approach, you smile and take a big breath as you're about to tell her what you know to be true. How does that feel? It's a simple exercise, but it helps us imagine the feelings we can recognize when we are in the presence of confusion, untruth, or something real. I recently spent some moments with 3 children whose father had died 2 days before. After talking about fishing and books for a bit, I asked, "Hey, where do you think your daddy has gone?" "To be with Jesus," the youngest girl said. Her older brother, about 10, said, Mom says he's in heaven. Do you guys believe that? I asked. The first two nodded, and the oldest brother, about 12, said, I want to. Okay, I nodded. Well, that's good, I said, because I believe your dad's in heaven with Jesus, and you can choose to believe that too. You know, you can get your mom or your grandparents to explain how Jesus prepared a way to heaven for your dad and for us. But right now, I want you to know that not only can you choose to believe your dad is in heaven, you can choose to go to heaven one day and be with him again yourself. When? The little girl asked. I don't really know, I said. How long will I have to wait? She pressed. Well, again, I'm not sure. But when you see your daddy again, you'll be with him for eternity. What is eternity? She asked. I smiled. You know, I said, I knew you were going to ask me that. Let me describe it this way. I held my finger and thumb about an inch apart. Let's say this distance is about 100 years, okay? And right now, we're in Orange Beach, Alabama. What's the farthest you've ever been from home? She said, we went to Nashville once. Wow, that's a long way, isn't it? She nodded. Okay. I held my thumb and forefinger up again. If that is 100 miles, let's say that Orange Beach to Nashville is eternity. Orange Beach to Nashville is so many years you can't count them. Orange Beach to Nashville is just forever. All right, let me ask you this. Did your dad ever go out of town for a week or two? All three kids nodded, and the oldest said he was gone once for 3 weeks. Like on a business trip? I asked. Yes, sir, he said. While he was gone, did you guys talk to him? No, sir, they said. Did you miss him? They nodded, and the little girl said, badly. I'm sure you did miss him badly, I said. Did you ever cry about missing him? Yes, she said. I cried to Mom about it. Okay, I said. Now think hard on this question. During the 3 weeks your daddy was gone, did you cry all the time? Well, no, she said, and the boys shook their heads. So you didn't cry all the time, and you went ahead and went to school and helped Mom around the house, and you played and laughed some too, right? Right, they said. But you still missed your dad, didn't you? We did, they agreed. Okay, I said, looking right at them. Do you want to know how you were able to go about your daily lives and not cry all the time when your dad was away? They stared at me. I said, it's because you all knew you were going to see him again. I mean, you missed him. You missed him badly. But you're going to see your daddy again. So right now, your daddy has gone to heaven. Heaven's a place that you can choose to go to as well. And when you get there, you're going to be with your dad for eternity, forever. You're going to be with your daddy from Orange Beach all the way to Nashville. Yes, you will miss your dad. You will miss your dad in these days to come, but you won't be devastated because you know you're going to see him again. And compared to eternity, I held up my thumb and finger, compared to eternity, you're only going to have to wait about this long. My friends, when we choose to believe truth, the slings and arrows of this world can hurt, but they cannot defeat us. At the Nelon's funeral, I watched Autumn actually get on stage and sing. And while she was sad, she was not defeated. She was filled with hope that only a certain future can bring. Today, I want to leave you with a song the Nelon sang often. Watch and listen to the end as Jason, Kelly, and Amber start this. Watch as Autumn joins in. And just know they are still singing.
I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice, 'cause you have led me through the fire. In darkest times, you were close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
I want to hear you sing the chorus. All my life, come on, help us. 'Cause all my life. Yes, you believe it? All my life. All my life. That is so powerful, so beautiful when we begin to sing like this, knowing that all of us have brought pain. We've brought a past. We've brought failures. We've brought tribulations, trials, sleepless nights. We've brought all these things into this place, and this empty arena yesterday has turned into a cathedral of praise. By the grace of Jesus. And I know the world has been turned upside down, and we've brought a lot of that pain and struggle with us. But we also know Jesus said that I have overcome the world. So that's why we can sing of his goodness, because his peace that he gives us, he said it's my peace, not peace that the world can give. And it transcends all the cares of your life and all the cares of my life. That's why everywhere we look, to your left, to the right, to above you, beneath you, behind you, ahead of you, the goodness of God is seen and unseen in every area of our life. The goodness of God is coming out.
It's your goodness is running after, it's running after me. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
I will sing.